to go live there first?
Yeah. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another epic video. This time we're doing a live session. I'm gonna be grading one of the clips from my talking head. You guys can see it right here. So this is what we're gonna be working on, and I'm gonna show you how I approach it. So the title is how to grade an interview, but this is gonna depend on what kind of interview you're working on. I'm not saying that, hey, take this and just apply it to every interview that you're gonna be working on, but we're gonna go through the thought process and you're gonna see how I build out my note tree and how I approach it. Not to mention that this is going to be repurposed again. So once I build a note tree here, we can save it as a power grade and then apply it to my next talking head, whatever it is that I'm shooting. Are you live here?
No, going live.
We're also going to be doing Instagram live, so we're just going to do this together, okay?
Why?
What's going on, guys? So we're doing this. This is going to be a live session. I'm going to be showing you how to grade an interview. This is a talking head from one of my videos. So I'm going to show you how I build my note tree and how we approach everything and how you can save this as a power grade and then reapply it next time you're working on a project. So guys, drop in a comment on YouTube. Let me know what's going on. And before we jump in, I do want to bring it up and let you guys know that there is 1 day left. Okay, special ends in 1 day. Look at the price. Usually goes for $9.97. My masterclass is available for $7.97 right now. If you are a modern day filmmaker who wants to make their projects stand out, this is the ultimate guide. This is the Bible. I mean, it's taking you through every single thing, and we update this masterclass pretty much every 15-20 days. Okay, you can ask anybody that's part of it. We have a mastermind group where you submit your work weekly. I get to judge it. You get tailor-made feedback, and then if you kick ass, you can win a $1,000 cash prize. And let's just check out some of the things that people are saying. So Bobby said, what I learned even just in an hour after working with Qazi's masterclass is worth more than years of trying to figure it out on my own. Josh said, I personally was able to quit my job and go full-time freelance, and Qazi's course helped me do that. Brian said, every single week we're submitting grades and Qazi is taking the time to review every single one. That in itself is worth the cost of the masterclass. So guys, the list goes on. You guys can check it out. I'm gonna drop a link for YouTube so you guys can click it, and then Instagram link is in the bio. I'm dropping in the link right now. You can take advantage of this offer. There you go. So YouTube link is up there. Let me know if it's working. Now let's just get into our tutorial. Okay, so this is my hero frame. You guys already know, I always talk about it, how important it is to find a hero frame, the one shot that you're gonna park on and then build your grade, you know, there, and then go from, you know, that point on. So we're good there. The screen, you guys should be looking at my screen. So the first node is always going to be noise reduction. That is if I need it. This is shot with C500 Mark II at 400 ISO, so it's so clean I don't need it, but I'm still going to have it for, you know, in the future if I'm working on something, and if I copy paste this power grade, I have that ready to go. Second node is going to be, I'm gonna call this highlights. So high, okay, this is for my highlights. If I wanna, you know, recover some of the highlights, I'm gonna leave them there. Then I'm gonna have my temp and tint, okay? And we're gonna move on. We're gonna have our HDR, and that's gonna be our HDR palette, because we're gonna be incorporating our brand new DaVinci Resolve 17 tools that we have available here. Then I'm gonna do my primaries. Now the sequence matters a lot, and you are going to find out why that is. I'm gonna give you a practical example of that. Then I'm gonna do my contrast and saturation basically, and then I'm gonna do my log wheels, and then we're gonna have our custom curves. Actually, you know what? Log goes after the custom curves, so I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna do my custom curves here, okay? And then we're gonna build another one right here. I'm gonna call it HSL curves, but we can also do color warper if we wanna use that here, okay? And then let's just leave that for sharpening, and then create another one for grain. Now, let me just explain this one misconception that's been floating around for I think since like, 2000 years ago or something when it comes to color grading. Everybody freaks out and they're like, hey, why do you have 11, 12, 13 nodes for everything? I can do everything in my sleep. One, that is false. And then two, people will say, well, we can just make this look in Photoshop in 4 seconds. Again, I never knew that people can grade in Photoshop, so that's another thing for films. So ultimately, what you need to understand when it comes to color grading, especially if you want to do it professionally, you should always do anything that you do on a professional level, or at least strive for that. The reason why we build out our node trees like that is that there's a proper pipeline how you got to do this before that, and you cannot just switch the order of it. Let me give you a quick example. So now let's just jump in. I'm going to start off with my contrast and saturation. Okay, that's our first step. So I'm going to go in and start adding tons of contrast. So I'm going to bring it somewhere around here. I'm going to go too far. You guys know how I do. And then I'm going to come back, park it somewhere around here, not anything more than that. So let's just park it somewhere around here. And now I'm going to go ahead and give it some saturation. Again, crank it too much, bring it back. Where do we want to keep it? Somewhere around here. Somewhere around here is not bad. I feel like this is what I remember it looked like. Like that shirt is pretty, like it pops. So this is where we are, right? Now I'm going to go in my primaries and I'm going to lift the entire image up because it's just too, like, it's too dark, right? And we got to make it look poppy and make it look good. So let's go in our primaries. I'm going to start using my pen and tablet since I cannot enlarge the screen, while I'm doing this. So I don't want to confuse you guys. So I'm going to use my pen and tablet so you guys can see what's happening. So now I'm in my primaries wheels. In my offset, I'm going to go right here. I'm going to grab this guy and raise it. Okay, so I'm raising my entire image up. So I'm going to put it somewhere around here. I'm getting to see my eyes now. Like I actually get to see the color of my eyes. Everything else in the background is coming up. It's looking good. So if I do before and after here, you can see we're making a big difference in that one node, which is before the contrast saturation node. Okay. Now I'm going to go in my lift and I'm going to pull this down. So I want you to pay attention to this. I'm going to undo this. I want you to pay attention to this area right here. Just look at the scopes right here and see what happens when I take my lifts and I bring it down. So I'm going to bring it down to somewhere around here. And now I'm going to take my gamma and I'm going to raise it up to open up my image. I'm going to take my gain and I'm going to bring it down because I want to control my highlights. And I'm going to grab my lift again and pull it down a little bit to just kind of keep like that strong contrast. So now if I do before and after, okay, keep your eyes right here. You see, like when I was bringing the lift down, what it was doing, right? It's kind of like constraining it to stay right here. Now I'm going to detach this node by hitting E. So now it's detached. It came out. I'm gonna move these over. I'm gonna grab this node and now I'm gonna just change the sequence. I'm gonna put it right after the contrast and look what it does. Now, if I go back in my lift and I pull it down, look how it's gonna behave. Look what it's doing compared to what it was doing before. You see the behavior, how different it is. So I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna take it back where it was. And now I'm going to obviously show you how it responds here. Now if I go back in my lift and I bring it down, okay, this is a DaVinci Resolve 17 glitch. It's glitching a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so now if I grab the lift from here and I bring it down, look at it. It's not clipping. Like it's behaving completely differently. So hopefully, besides the little glitch, you understand why the sequence is so important. Like everything does not work the same way, okay? It works very differently. So just keep those things in mind. So now that we made a little bit of changes, I think we can make a little bit more. So I'm gonna lift it up a little bit, bring it up a little bit. And now I'm gonna go back in my contrast and I'm gonna add more saturation. So I'm gonna go in my saturation, add a little bit more saturation. Obviously we can control it at the end if we need to make changes. So in 2 nodes, look what we did. In 2 simple nodes, we've come a long way. If I wasn't explaining to you, we could have even moved faster, right? So, I mean, a lot happened here. So this is my initial steps when I'm building it out, okay, in the beginning. Then what I do is I go under my highlights, and usually I do this. I go under my qualifier. I put my low soft to around 7-ish. I'm gonna hit Shift H, and then I'm gonna take my low and I'm gonna keep going up until I just select this much. Now I'm gonna come out of it. So what this does is that now if I ever need to control my highlights, I have that flexibility. I don't need to right now. Look at my image, look at my parade. It's looking great. I don't need to do it, but I always will have this here as a safety measure, okay? Now I'm gonna go under my HDR, and what I wanna do in my HDR is that let's click on our high dynamic range tab. And what I wanna do here is I wanna go under my shadows and I wanna lift it up. I wanna exercise my HDR tools, if you will. So look what's gonna happen in this area of the image. So let me undo this, didn't mean to do that. So just watch what's going to happen. I'm gonna go select my exposure here in the shadows and I'm gonna lift it. And look how it's bringing up my eyes so much. So if I do before and after, that is making a gigantic difference, okay? It's popping everything out, but it's doing it in a completely different fashion than how you would do it with lift gamma gain, okay? There's a lot of like AI happening in the background to make that happen. So I'm gonna do just that much. Then I'm gonna go under my highlights and I'm gonna try to pop my image up. Actually, you know what? In light. And I'm gonna pop it up a little bit, not too much. Obviously go too far first and then kind of pull it back. I'm gonna leave it somewhere around here. Now if I do before and after, look at the amount of difference we made. Now the beautiful thing about the HDR palette is that everything is separated. You have 6 degrees of everything, okay? So I have a saturation tab just for my light, just for my shadows. So in my light, I'm gonna grab my saturation and I'm gonna crank it. And look how it saturates my skin and just does it the right amount. And I'm gonna leave it somewhere around here. I'm not affecting the saturation of the shadows, the dark areas, the highlights. I'm only affecting it in the light, which is the higher mids. That's where I'm affecting the saturation, okay? Maybe we can go a little bit further, right? Again, like always too much and then dial it back. So somewhere around here. So this is where we are right now. Now I'm gonna go under my temp and I'm gonna see what is happening. I do feel like it's a little bit too magenta bias. So now let's go back in our primaries. And this is where we do our temp and tint. So I can go under my tint and I can say, all right, let's add a little bit of green. Obviously make it Hulk first and then dial it back. And I'm gonna go maybe park it somewhere around here. And then what's happening with my temp? Can we cool it off a little bit? Maybe not. So I'm gonna bring it back, park it somewhere around here, maybe add a little bit more juice and then go under my tint and bring it back just a little bit. And now if I do before and after, so it didn't look like we were making a lot of difference, but like, look, we evened out our image quite a bit. Okay, so this is where we are right now. Now, I'm gonna go under my curves, my custom curves, and this is where I was saying I'm gonna do a little bit of extra pop. So I'm gonna go under and turn on editable splines right here. Again, this is one of those finishing nodes that I'm gonna usually leave it as is, but then sometimes I go in and I just do like, okay, let's just pop the image up a little bit. So I can come and do this. And like if I get really close and you can see, we're just doing a little bit to just add a little extra something. And it's happening here too. Like, you know, we can see it in our scopes. Can we exaggerate it so really see like how much we're making a difference? We are making a big difference, okay? The pop is happening quite a bit. It just pulls the image out, makes it look more three-dimensional. Now you see like we're not hitting the black points here. For interviews, it's not a bad practice to actually hit the black points and like get it really close to just really do the push and pull in your image. And I put my logs here because you saw what happened and how our primaries were behaving when they were behind contrast. So log comes after the custom curves and your contrast. So now I'm in my log wheels. I'm gonna go under my log wheels right here. And I'm just gonna go under my shadow and I'm gonna pull it down a little bit, okay? I'm just gonna do this, not too much, just this much. And already you guys can see how washed out it looked like before, and now we're like really pulling it down, okay? It's helping quite a bit. So I'm gonna keep it somewhere around here. Even my hair got more information. Just the overall image again got more punch. But I do want to control my low range because I think it's kind of chipping into my low mid range, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna go under my low range and I'm gonna say, hey, pull it back a little bit. Like you're a bit too aggressive. So I'm gonna pull it back just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit like that, and I'm gonna leave it somewhere around here. And guys, it's the little things that make a huge difference. If I just take my custom curves and log and I turn it on, now it's off, on, off, on. Big difference, okay? Just tiny little tinkering. And this is why, again, why we stack our nodes. We don't do everything in one node, okay? Now I'm gonna go under my HSL, and all I wanna do here is that, now personally my skin is pretty olive. So baby, don't you think like it's pretty close to my skin? It is pretty close to that, but I still like to add a little bit more like red into my skin than like where it's falling, which is a little bit on the yellow side. So this is where the HSL curves come into play. So I'm gonna go under my hue versus hue options, and all I have to do is just kind of click right here. I can tap right here, and then I just go in and I just grab it to where it says hue rotate, and I'm gonna pull it up a little bit. And then you can see what's happening. If I go down all the way, you're gonna see how it's making it green, and if I go up, it's making it red. Obviously, we never wanna do anything too much. So I'm gonna pull it up a little bit, and I'm gonna park it somewhere around here. And now if I do before and after, it just pulls that yellow out just enough. I might be exaggerating it a bit, so maybe I'll bring it back. Again, it's so minute that barely you can notice it, but it is making a difference. Another thing that we can do now, let's go under our color warper. So the other things that I would do here is that, let's say if I just decide that, hey, this blue is just about, you know, a bit too much, let's just change that blue hue to like teal or something. So then I can just go in here, click right here, and I can just pull this down and see what I'm doing. So now I'm just changing the hue of that color. So now if I do before and after, how much of a difference we made on a very organic level. Okay, it's pretty clean. All right, it is really, really clean. If I don't want to affect this area, like say if somebody is like, yo, you're changing the color of the logo, like, I mean, you can't do that. And if that's the case, then in that case, what I need to do is I need to create a layer mixer. And then in the layer mixer, I come in here and I do this. So basically I'm saying, hey, don't make the change to this, just affect everything else. So if I do before and after, see, before it was affecting this with the layer mixer, I pretty much said, don't affect this, affect everything else. Obviously, we don't need to track it or anything like that in an interview environment because the dude is sitting there not really moving around. So we don't have to worry about it. But let's just say in a different scenario, somebody was like, yo, like, let's delete this. And in this node, instead of doing what we did with our, you know, color warper, somebody said, hey, just give it more pop. Like, just pop the blue out more. Then I could have just gone in here, click on it, and then boom, added more saturation, right? And you have to be careful because if you do it too much, you're gonna start adding some artifacting in the back. But like if you look at how much color we added here just by doing one quick thing and how much it pops our image, it's kind of unreal, right? Once again, if it is affecting the outside too much, you can obviously do the opposite effect of what I just showed you. So you can just restrict it. So now we're only affecting this and we're not affecting anything outside of it. But obviously I want to affect everything. I don't care. So it's looking really great. Like look at the color separation that we got going on. There's so many colors that we have here. And then the final finishing nodes will be, you know, obviously my sharpening. So I'm going to go in here, not in here, in here. And I'm going to pull this down to 48-ish. Okay. 47 is fine too. I think 48 is a little bit more cinematic. 47 just gets to be a bit much. So I'm going to keep it at 48 here. And then finally, we're going to add grain, but I don't need to do that. You guys will be barely able to see it here. And obviously, you won't be able to see it on Instagram. But grain is just one more finishing tools that I would add. And then noise reduction, like I said, if you need to, you will. And then obviously, I wanted to show you how to grade this particular shot. Now, if you have you know, what do you call it? If you have like a lot of light coming through or whatever, it's not under controlled lighting, then you will need windows to pop something out and stuff like that. In this, we didn't. So I don't like to show anything that's unnecessary than what you have to do. One more thing that we can do is that we can go in here again in color warper, and we can try to add a little bit more juice in the skin. I'm just gonna try it out. If I don't like it, I'll just go back, but let's just grab the skin from here, and I'm just gonna try to do just a little bit. So even something like that, you know, again, it's a little exaggerative, like, you know, we're just like really adding something extra, but I personally feel like it does help. It makes a big difference. So, you know, again, to those people that say, well, you know, what's going on, Qazi? Why don't you just apply a conversion LUT and then that would be the end of that? Let me give you an example of like what's the big difference, right? So let's create another version and let's delete all of this. Let's go to this. This time, I'm gonna go under my LUT. I'm gonna pick the right Canon C-Log2 Direct 709 LUT and look at the difference, okay? So this is the LUT provided by Canon. This is where your image is sitting at compared to what we created. So, you know, the more you put into it, the better it's going to be. And if you learn to do it properly, your grades are actually going to pop out and your stuff will look professional. That is the difference between somebody who's not a colorist and freaks out when they look at, you know, multiple nodes to somebody who is a colorist and knows what is possible from each camera. So hopefully this was helpful. Now what we can do at this point, I can click on this guy right here, go under my power grades, right? Power grades, you guys know how this works. Your power grades are available in the entire database. So these grades are shared throughout the entire database, unlike stills. Stills only live in a project. Power grades live in an entire database, meaning whatever project you have, you can apply this grade. So now that I built this and it's epic, it's ready to go, I can just go grab a still. And now that this still is created, I can just get rid of this and I say this is a new project I'm starting out. I can just come in over here, right click, boom. I got that grade ready to go. I didn't have to recreate it from scratch. I can come in here, make a few adjustments. Once again, the beauty of having multiple nodes and having it in this layout is that, say you shot something at 3200 Kelvin instead of 56. Now it's really easy to go in here and just change the temp and tint instead of like figuring out, oh my God, I did everything in one node. What am I gonna do to fix it? You know, or if it's too bright or it's not bright enough, okay, it's too bright. The window light is coming through. It's blowing everything out. You go under your highlights, boom, fix it right there. Oh, it's too crunchy. Go under your HDR, crank that shadow up a little bit, make everything look pretty. So guys, again, this is just a quick preview of like, if this is something that you think, wow, we got so much value out of it, then that's why I want to keep putting emphasis on this. You can look at it as like me being a salesperson, but in all honesty, like literally it will just shrink the time that it will take you, the years that it's going to take you by trial and error to figuring these things out. Whereas by just having this, you can hit the ground running and you can just like make your project stand out, get to a whole another level. Another thing that I want to show you is that if you click on course preview, you guys can go through and watch some free videos. So like, look at this. What's to expect in FCM is free and it's available. A whole crash course is available for free that you can check out. So this is gonna give you a taste of what to expect from this masterclass. Right now we're sitting at a little over 27 hours worth of content. It says right here, 27 plus hours worth of content. So highly recommend you guys picking this up. There's a monthly payment plan if you can't do a one-time payment. And if you do join the course, do hit me up, let me know. I like to know everybody on a first name basis, and especially with our community that's like so tight. I want to keep it that way. So guys, this is going to do it for this particular video. Drop in, you know, comments if you have any questions about the course particularly, because this is a good time. There's only one day left, so I can answer some questions. I'm actually gonna, you know, stay here for a couple of minutes on YouTube and see what you guys have. Do we have any questions there on Instagram?
Somebody asked where you changed the blue when you were going through your...
Okay, so the blue was changed in the color warper. I can show it right here too. So that is a new tool in DaVinci Resolve 17. So all I did is I changed it on the screen. I just pretty much clicked right here and started changing it so it triggers this spider web right here, and then you can just get to do whatever you want to do with those colors, whatever it is that you want to change. If the red is too much, you want to pull it down, you can change it there. So all that stuff happens in the color warper right here, which is a brand new tool. I wanted to show those, like the new tools too, because everybody is always pumped about like seeing how to actually put those things to work. All right, guys, so this is gonna do it. We're gonna call it, and then I'm gonna be putting out a few more videos in the next couple of days. But until then, peace.